We're back, folks, on Santa Clarita's hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. It's the Gazette Radio Hour with Doug and John, the Radio Digest version of the Santa Clarita Gazette and Free Classifieds. And our special guest today on our special show is Assemblyman Scott Wilkes. Assemblyman, my question is, and I'm going to make no bones about it, but I'm a right guy. I mean, I'm to the right. I do not understand the culture of the left, the thinking of the left, how they think that what they want to get through and accomplish is going to help business or even the citizens. How do you function in that environment?
Well, I mean, I am in the minority, but so, part of it is building personal relationships, because they have people on the left have a particular view of people on the right, which is, I think, wrong. And so, you spend time. In fact, it's interesting. I'm the only Republican that represents any portion of the city of L.A. So when we go to regional things, whether it's a Realtors Apartment Association, it's me and all these Dems. Right. I call it the Southwest Caucus. My flight up Monday morning out of Burbank, it's me and all these Dems. And so, it'll be, the Speaker and Taxon Jackson and Fran Pavley and Senator Padilla and like 8 other legislators, Democratic legislators. And there's been more than once, Doug, when I've sat there and said, okay, Lord, I'm willing to take one for the team, take the plane down. I have thought that more than once. I'm not going to lie about that. But you have to educate them. So what I've noticed, having done this 2 years now, if it's a labor issue and labor's really pushing it, we're going to lose. Right. And the reason why we're going to lose, they pump so much money into the political system that they're afraid. But on other issues, I don't know what the deal was this year. I know last year we killed 35 out of 36 job killer bills. I'm not sure what it was this year. I haven't looked at that yet. Right. So we you got to build relationships and you got to educate. And then from my perspective, my party's got to do a better job picking up seats. I mean, if you read all the end of the session stories, whether it was the Bee or Daily News or LA Times, they all said bipartisanship. Well, 2 reasons for that. One, their polling is in the tank. Right. And then 2, they had 3 indicted Democratic senators. So on some issues, we have to be brought to the table. So if it's a tax increase, an initiative or constitutional amendment or urgency clause, that takes 2/3 votes. So that we are brought to the table. So my goal, working through the November elections, is to break the supermajority in both houses, so we have a greater say on how California is governed, with the long-term goal of having 41 votes in the assembly before I leave.
And keeping ours.
Is that possible?
As of today, I'd say no, but things can change. So
you could live a long time.
Do you think there could be any fallout from the national, what's going on nationally with the Democrats taking a hit? Could that flow into
it is. So in the last time we thought it was going to be a wave election, and it kind of stopped at the Sierra Nevadas. Right. So I'm co-chair of elections for my caucus. So I'm intimately involved on a daily basis on this. And as of right now, we've done benchmark polls in all of our target seats, and we are up in every single seat, including against Democratic incumbents. And so, again, they have They have more money than God. I mean, they've got like 3 times what we have. So we have to be smart on how we spend money. You do it with precision. They can take a shotgun approach, because they can afford to make mistakes, because they're sitting on like $18 million.
So, I'd like to go back to something you mentioned: job killer bills. Okay, one of my pet peeves, and Doug is going to go nuts if we don't talk about this. Some of the things that the business climate in California right now is absolutely horrendous. And it affects everybody. Fortunately, you did the film credit, the Film and Television Credit Act, which is huge, and that's great for Los Angeles. But in the meantime, we're losing a Tesla plant. And those jobs aren't necessarily just Tesla that left. It's it's a trickle down, including myself. I'm a workers' comp defense attorney. If there's no jobs, there's no workers, there's no people getting injured, I'm out of a job. Does anybody see this going on?
You want me to answer it?
Yes, please.
I say the majority do not. They don't understand basic economics. The fact of the matter is, on a typical year, 61% of our revenue comes from income tax. So if we want to have more revenue to do the things they want to do, we need to have an environment where people are willing to invest their capital and risk it to create jobs, and they just don't understand basic economics. I used to manage the New Car Dealers Association in the mid '80s to early 1990, and I'll talk to legislators and I go, "How much do you think a new car dealer makes on a new car?" And they'll go 50%.
Oh my gosh!
No, the EBITDA is 1.6% for a dealership, and they don't understand. Which is again, it comes back to that education.
Right. Is it a cultural thing? Is that why the majority of the legislature in Sacramento is Democratic? Is it because of the demographics of the state of California now? I mean, what caused this to happen?
Yeah. Well, so in terms of members, there's also a strain. It's not a large strain, but there's a strain of I grew up poor, and I want to stick it to the man. Right. And I'd say in my chamber of 80, there's probably about 6 or 7 people that have that. It's all about sticking it to the man. But yeah, I mean, demographics are certainly changing the face of California, and which is why that's something we have to do better in terms of going out and communicating, our message of hope and opportunity and what that looks like. And I don't think we've done a very good job doing that. I remember during the campaign, had a candidate forum at COC. Afterwards, an African-American student came up to me afterwards and goes, "Sir, I'm sorry I got here late. What party are you from?" And I said, "I'm a Republican." Right. He's going, "Darn," although he didn't say darn. I'm surprised by that because, I've always been told I'm a Democrat, but, I agreed with you and your vision. And so, we've got to go into those communities and show them that we care, and this is how your life can improve. And, on August 20th was the 50-year anniversary of the war on poverty. Right. Clearly failed. California, we have the highest poverty rate in the nation at 24%. We're higher than Mississippi, Alabama, any of those.
All right. We're going to talk more about that because I know Doug's seething over there. This is the Gazette Radio Hour with Doug and John on AM 1220 KHTS and our special guest, Assemblyman Scott Wilk. We'll be right back.
All right, I'm trying to resist using a line from the song on the intro.
You do every time.
Okay, I know. I'm trying to resist. Welcome back, folks. You're listening to Santa Clarita's hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. It's the Gazette Radio Hour with Doug and John. Our very special guest today is Assemblyman Scott Wilk. Where were we, gentlemen?
I think you were starting. Oh, the business climate in California. Go for it, Doug. You're a small business owner. How do you feel?
I mean, there's so many directions I could go with this, but just in the general climate right now. I just had a good friend that owns a business here for 23 years, and last Friday was his last day in business. It was a combination, he said, of increased regulations, and I don't want to even bring up the industry that he's in, but the regulations in the industry he's in are just choking him. They did choke him. They choked him to business death. The taxes and the fees he had to pay for some of the disposal stuff, I don't want to give the industry away. And then the economy in itself, his customer base just dropped. So when you have increased expenses, taxes, and then less business, that spells disaster. And that seems to be the climate that we're in. Here in Santa Clarita, I make my living off selling print advertising. That's the revenue for the Gazette and our other publications. And time after time, what we hear is, "I'd love to advertise. I do not have the extra money. I'm barely able to pay rent, make payroll, and pay the utility bill."
Well, I'm shocked by that, Doug, because Governor Brown says we have the California comeback going on. Hey, look, CEO Magazine has rated California the worst place to do business 9 straight years. We have the highest income tax in the nation. We have the highest sales tax in the nation. We have the highest gas tax in the nation. And I don't see a nexus between those taxes and what services government delivers. I see none.
How do we ever change it, Assemblyman? How do we ever affect a change? That's what.
Well, to me, you're going to have to change the composition of the legislature and the person who sits in the chair of the executive. Although I'll tell you, Governor Brown is we could have much worse than him.
Yes,
and I fully concede that. I think he has some commitment to fiscal restraint. But very few of them have a business background, and they don't understand what it takes, which comes back to why you need to build relationships and you need to educate. You just do.
You probably didn't think that was what your job was going to be when you started, huh?
I kind of knew, but you got to do it. And you got to do it. Got to do it all the time.
But if you were to sit down with a particular lady or gentleman of the other side and point out all the problems that businesses are having and the reason why, would they say, "Oh yeah, that makes sense. Oh yeah, we shouldn't do that"? Does that happen? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the reasons why Washington, D.C. is dysfunctional is that you've got money on the ideological right and you got money on the ideological left. In Sacramento, there is no money on the ideological right. I mean, there's not. So probably the most.
Therein lie the problem.
No. What I'm saying is, I don't have any pressures. I vote my district. So maybe I don't know who the most powerful, on the right would be, whether it be Howard Jarvis Taxpayer Association or the Chamber. I don't know. First of all, I agree with them 95% of the time anyway. Just on the natural. To Howard Jarvis, they endorsed against me in my primaries, and I beat them. So I mean, I don't fear them at all.
I think they grade you like 95% now.
I got 95. Last year I got 95.
Yeah.
On the left, there's I don't know what you do about the money in politics, but it's in this state, it's on the left.
Right.
Public employee unions, applicant attorneys,
yeah.
in environmental. And so a lot of times they'll agree with you, but then when the pressures come, they're gone. I had a bill to give trustees of community colleges greater. Right now there's an economic disincentive to hire more counselors, but these students need more counselors so they can do academic plans. I had a bill last year that would do that. And I got it out of the higher ed committee, which was a shock to everybody because CTA represents most of the full-time faculty, and they were opposed.
Yeah, of
but
course.
then when it went to appropriations, the analysis said no direct cost to state, so it should have passed out, and then you could debate it on the floor based upon the merits of the bill. But my friends on the other side of the aisle sat on their hand. They didn't vote no, but they didn't vote yes, so it died.
It died.
And I get on the floor the next day, and they go, "Hey, dude, so sorry. Something I know we need to fix, but CTA's against it, so I can't be there with you."
Yeah. And people don't see the backside of that stuff.
Yeah.
They just see the results, and that's got to be frustrating too.
Yeah,
that's
why my goal is to go out and educate the public. Last fall I can't tell you how many high school classrooms I went to go speak to, and junior highs and even fifth graders. Planting seeds in the younger ones and the other ones, because I feel like my generation is going to give the country and the state often worse condition than we inherited it. I feel I got a responsibility to. They need to engage. They need to engage now. They need to have their parents engaged, and they need to know how it works. Yeah, and then what's the consequences of the way it works?
That's Doug. You didn't when you were listing off all the things that are negative towards business. You missed your favorite one.
What's that?
Minimum wage.
Oh, don't start me. No. Minimum wage drives me absolutely nuts.
Worse in the bag, Ben.
Oh, I find it repulsive that government gets involved in my business and tells me what I have to pay.
Hey, minimum wage is just that. It's minimum wage. It's not supposed to be a living wage. That's supposed to be an entry-level position into the marketplace where you're supposed to acquire skills and experience and then move on. And and it has ramifications through the greater economy. And then I guess you probably saw where Mayor Garcetti's talking about moving it to 13 and a quarter down in the city of LA.
13 and a quarter.
If I have a high school student that wants to come to my office and do filing, and they'll say, "Yeah, I'll do it for $5 an hour." Why can't I? That's between me and them, is it not?
It's the poverty level, Doug. I don't disagree with you. That's the appropriate response. It is what it is.
All right, my blood pressure's shooting up.
All right, shall we take a break so your blood pressure can recover? All right, you're listening to Gazette Radio Hour with Doug and John on AM 1220 KHTS, and our special guest, Assemblyman Scott Wilk from Santa Clarita. We'll be right back.